I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
I think that pretty much sums it up right there.
What I'm worried about is marginalized communities right now. I'm worried about Black people right now. I'm worried about trans people right now. I'm worried about liberals in general, who they are putting a target on. The amount of violence that is being called for by the right now is scary, especially since they are violent. I heard somebody say, and it was like a devastating point, Charlie Kirk died in exactly the kind of America that he advocated for us to all live in. A violent America where people get gunned down for having political opinions, and boy did he have them. Because let's not pretend, since all the right now is calling for martial law, and they're calling for violence against all of their political opponents, and they're calling for revoking people's speech rights, while pretending that they're not violent as fuck, is just, go look, before I guess maybe they'll delete it, at Charlie Kirk's Twitter timeline. His entire page is hate against Muslims, hate against Arabs, defending the genocide in Gaza. He has made light of and made jokes and denied that George Floyd was murdered. He defended the wildly unconstitutional strike that Trump did on Venezuela and said, oh well, while those people were killed without due process. He has been fomenting nonstop hate against trans people, and just in the last 24 hours, he's been fomenting nonstop hate against Black people because of that Ukrainian woman who was killed. In one of my videos this morning, I was talking about the hate that he was fomenting against Black people before he even got shot. Charlie Kirk also made jokes and laughed about Nancy Pelosi's husband getting attacked with a hammer. He quite literally excused the deaths of people from gun violence and said it was the cost of the Second Amendment. The right wing pretending that this is not the exact kind of culture that they have created is absurd. 2 Democratic lawmakers were murdered less than a month ago by a right-winger. And did you hear them condemning that? No, they didn't even condemn it. Some of them made jokes about it.
So Charlie Kirk, right before he had hot lead thrown at him, was asked a question. And that question was, how many shootings do you think have happened in the last 10 years in the United States of America? Charlie Kirk's response, which were also simultaneously his last words, were, are we counting gang violence? Someone was trying to tee up a conversation about the very much out of control gun issue we have right now in this country. And Charlie Kirk's response in his last words were to take a coded dig at Black people. And now he's gone. Like I said before, I have a mother who raised me right. I don't celebrate death, and I have a conscience. So I am not going to sit here and speak ill of Charlie Kirk and say that he deserved for this to happen to him. But that being said, though, none of us are surprised that it did. Because we all know on some level, in this country and around the world, when you spend your entire life spewing hatred and division and racism and xenophobia and homophobia and all types of other things, eventually it will always come back on you. You reap what you sow. And the other point I want to make to conservatives right now is I want y'all to take a look around and see how the internet and the world is reacting to this man's death. Yes, there are a large group of people who are sad that he's gone and are sad that this has happened to him and find it unacceptable. But there is an even larger group of people literally celebrating this man being gone, which is absurd when you think about how violently he ended. I want you to take a second and think, how do you want the world to react when you die? How do you want the world to treat your family when you're gone? Whether it's a peaceful natural death or something bad happened to you like it did to Charlie. Do you want them to cheer? Do you want them to celebrate? Do you want them to see the news and have a smile on their face? How do you want to be remembered? When I die, trust me, it will not be a cause for celebration because I know I am loved. I'm not even trying to be facetious or big-headed right now. People will mourn me universally across the board because I don't got no enemies. I treat everyone I know with love and respect and kindness. I don't have to like everybody. I don't have to get along with everybody. I don't have to agree with everybody, but I will always respect everybody. Not because I want these things in return. I do, but that's not the point. It's the right thing to do, and it costs me nothing. Charlie Kirk had to go out of his way to spit the kind of hatred and vitriol that he spent years spitting, and it ultimately led to his early and untimely demise. It costs you nothing to be kind. It costs you nothing to be empathetic. It costs you nothing to think of your neighbor. And those efforts that cost you nothing are usually rewarded tenfold. So ultimately, y'all have a choice to make. You can continue down the pathway of hatred and division and accept the consequences of that with open arms, regardless of what those consequences are. They don't always have to be lead to the neck. It could be something else. Or you can take a hard, long look at yourself in the mirror and make the choice to let go of the hatred that fuels you, because ultimately it only leads one place.
Hi guys, welcome to yet another video. It's Ndagire here. Thanks for clicking on today's video. So guys, it's been official, it's been confirmed. Even the President Trump tweeted about the death of Kirk like he's gone. But also I'm sharing this video to show that it's not just people of color, black people, that are not feeling sorry about the passing of this person. Palmed people themselves are coming out and saying this was not a good human being, and somehow like this had to happen anyway or the other, which I'm not in support of. But hey, that's America. And this same person that lost his life was in support of this America that he was advocating for, and he was in support of owning guns. He was the same person that was not feeling empathy, and actually was saying empathy like is a bad thing. But it's ironic that I'm seeing people force other people to have empathy towards him, but he did not have empathy when it came to other groups of people. This is the same man that said George Floyd was not murdered. Yeah, this is the same person that was support of what was happening in Palestine. This is the same person that was in support of mass shootings. And also, when it comes to mass shootings, guys, every time I see a mass shooting, it's always a palm person. Even recently, a palmed man went and attacked a church, and little kids lost their lives. Every time there's a mass shooting, it's always a palm person. But hey, this same man, the last words he said coming from his mouth was gang violence, trying to spew and create hate and putting that, that violent word still on black people. And the fact that they've not released the person that actually committed this, probably it doesn't fit their narrative. Like, it's not in their narrative. Because if it was a black person or a person of color, it would be everywhere on the news on how, yeah, these people should be taken out. This is why, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, probably allegedly it must be one of them. So yeah, they're gonna keep on stalling us about who did this, who did that, and the fact, like I said, it's a red state. Let's wait and see who they're going to put this thing on. Guys, listen to what people are saying about this whole thing. I can't say more. Come back, let me know your thoughts on it.
Thank you, God, that tonight, after you're done with my enemies, you will turn the demons to all law enforcement on my case until I get everything I want. In Jesus' name. Done.
You shouldn't celebrate someone dying because it's still a life loss. Is it though? Is Charlie Kirk a life loss, or did the devil just call home one of his disciples? I mean, they celebrated when they killed Martin Luther King and he was preaching peace. I think it's okay for people to be rejoicing in a white supremacist dying. I think that's all right. Mind you, he died doing what he loved, protecting gun rights. He said so famously that he believes that deaths are just sacrifices made to keep your Second Amendment, and he is indeed one of those sacrifices. And I'm going to be honest, better him than another innocent child just going to school, or an innocent person going to the grocery store, or an innocent person going to church, or an innocent person just being on the subway, or an innocent person literally anywhere dying from gun violence. That man spent the last few years of his life peddling racism, white supremacy, xenophobia, sexism, and all things detrimental to a productive society. He was the embodiment of bigotry, and him dying in this way was very poetic. And I don't feel bad.
Well, can we get some gun control now? I'm not celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk because at the end of the day, it's just another example of the gun problem we have in this country. But all truth, no J-Lo, I can't have sympathy for a man who would have looked at the school shooting we had today and said that those deaths were unfortunately worth it to keep the Second Amendment. I can't have sympathy for a man who was blaming the black community for gun violence seconds before he experienced white-on-white crime. I can't have sympathy for Charlie Kirk with a creepy smirk who paraded himself around spewing racist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, misogynistic rhetoric, and then also advocated against any form of gun control. Because here's the thing, when you spend so much time spewing your bigoted and ridiculous beliefs and ideologies, those same beliefs and ideologies can come back and shoot you in the neck. Quite literally. And it's crazy that things like this have to happen before people realize that there's a fucking problem. Like, y'all will have to have something happen to you before you realize that thoughts and prayers aren't doing shit. There were 6 police officers on guard, plainclothes officers in the crowd, and Charlie Kirk's security team, and none of that stopped what happened today. The guns are the fucking problem. Hope this helps.
For all of y'all expecting me to be sad and to have some kind of decorum for what the hell just happened to Mr. Kirk, allow me to help you understand something. Mr. Kirk continued to advocate for the deaths in the millions of Palestinians in Gaza right now that are still at large. He also advocated for the magnitudes of deaths of people in the Congo and Sudan and stated how he supported the current gun laws, and that there had to be a necessary evil in order for people to feel safe, alluding to the fact that some people's kids had to go so that they could keep their gun laws. It's amazing how y'all like to cherry pick and choose and pick when you actually want to have sympathy. When it comes to the lives of a brown or black child, you have no sympathy. It's easy for you to look away because you are used to doing that. That is what you were taught. And then we have the Black Lives Matter movement happen. We see the protests outside about what's going on with the people that are being deported. And you do nothing. You say nothing. And then you get on your soapbox the minute we speak up about what happened to him today and how that is his karma. He met his fate because he advocated for that. He ensured that his journalistic integrity was forward-facing and right-wing facing that supported the current gun laws. And it came back to bite him in the ass tenfold. And since you love that motherfucking Bible so much, allow me to allude for you that it was the same Jesus in that same motherfucking Bible that told you to your motherfucking face, do not make peace with evil. Destroy it. That man is a serpent. Prying on the cradles in your home. Heard about what's happening to them kids in those schools in different states nationally. And you have the audacity, the gall to get mad at people for not caring about what happened to him, even though he himself advocated for that to have happened. Had he advocated against the gun laws, then maybe the person that had the gun would not have had the ability to do that to him. That happened in Utah. That didn't happen on the corner of Philadelphia or the corner in New York, the places where they tell you systematically the most gun violence happened. Oh no, it happened in Utah by one of your own. And you're, instead of being mad at the person who pulled the trigger, mad at the people online. Well, too goddamn bad. Instead of being mad at the government that he supported, that he allowed to move forward, that he pushed himself forward with a loud voice to the sky about how he supported the current gun laws. You have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to sit on here and try to attack the average everyday citizen for not feeling bad? Sounds like karma to me. Sounds like that's exactly what he wanted. Sounds like the consequences of his damn actions coming down to chase him. Nobody wanted that man to get shot, especially not like that. But that man loudly advocated not only for the deaths of millions of Palestinians, Congolese, and Sudanese, but also for millions of children, women in this country. You won't have to take them tears and carry them somewhere else. Because quite frankly, my dear, I have no thoughts. I have no prayers.
I'm not going to celebrate what happened to Charlie Kirk, but I'm not going to mourn him either. Charlie Kirk was a terrible person. He was a racist and a misogynist and a fascist. Charlie Kirk laughed in the face of school shootings. And before those children were even buried, every single time he would trot himself out and say, this is just the price that you pay for freedom. But here's the thing. Charlie Kirk never conceived of himself being the one that would have to pay the price for that freedom. He always thought the consequence would fall on you. Yeah, you and me. People that didn't move in his circles, people he didn't know. He never thought those consequences would find him. And when it was just you and your kids, he didn't care. And he laughed about it. He thought it was funny. And the last thing that Charlie Kirk ever said in this world was a message of hatred, talking about how trans people are more likely to perform mass shootings and therefore should lose constitutional rights. Charlie Kirk died with hate in his mouth. Charlie Kirk laughed at the misfortune of others. Charlie Kirk was a terrible human being. Did he deserve what happened to him? No, I don't think so. But did he create the atmosphere that allowed it to happen? Sure, partially. Because every word out of Charlie Kirk's mouth was hatred and dehumanization and debasement. And it was all in service of making money. And the sad thing about Charlie Kirk, maybe the saddest thing that I can think of, I'm not even sure he believed the things that he said, because he always smelled more like a grifter than a true believer to me. There was always something about him that said to me, this is just some schmuck trying to make a quick dollar.
I can't stand the word empathy. Actually, I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but
I'm supposed to have empathy for a mother that doesn't believe in it. I'm supposed to have empathy for a person that demonized my people, a person who watched a black man get his neck kneeled down for 9 minutes. He had a daughter. But do you know what that man said about that man after he was deceased? And I'm supposed to have some empathy? You're telling me that my morals are compromised because I don't have empathy for a man who doesn't view me as an equal human being to him? A man that does not have sympathy for children being mowed down in schools? A man that does not have any sympathy for the women that are losing their reproductive health care and are set to lose more of their reproductive health care? This man literally said that he would force his daughter to have her child, and I'm supposed to have some empathy that this man got taken out while spewing some more hateful rhetoric? Seriously? You can be against gun violence, right? You can acknowledge that no human being deserves to have their life taken away. Nobody does. But at the same time, stop telling people who are affected by the rhetoric that these people spew and individuals, because now that a lot of people who are saying that you should have some empathy, now there's finally somebody that looks like them that has been a victim of this. I've been having to watch my people get killed on camera as long as I can remember. Stop telling us to have empathy for a person that does not have empathy for us. That's not how that works. That's not how that works.
They're going to be very quiet about who it was that actually unalived Charlie Kirk, because it's pretty likely that it was actually someone from Team Red. And if the news gets out that it was someone from Team Red, that would splinter that side even more than it already is. I think that's why they're so quiet right now and why there's so little publicity about who actually did this. Under normal circumstances, they would have all kinds of info out right now. They don't have any because it doesn't fit the narrative. Utah is an exceptionally red state. And considering the person who did hit Charlie hit him from roughly 200 yards away, and what I know about blue people, this doesn't sound like it was someone from Team Blue. Now listen, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. You will get a face. You may even get a name, but any real details about whoever this person is will likely be hidden because, again, it likely doesn't fit the narrative. The pictures of the gentleman that I showed you before, yeah, allegedly that's not the guy. But again, I could be wrong.
There's people in the Instagram comment sections talking about how, oh, they feel so bad for him because he had children waiting for him at home. This is the same man that said that if his 9-year-old daughter was ever and impregnated, that he would force her to give birth. Nine years old.
Maybe it's because I come from a place with consequences, but I ain't shocked by the Charlie Kirk shit at all. Where I'm from, right or wrong, if you do things that negatively impact other people's lives, there's a chance that could cost you your life. Like, say you put hands on your old lady. She goes back to her parents' house, beaten and bloody, and then her little brother sees it, decides he's had enough. He goes over to that house and he puts 3 in your chest. Ultimately, he's dead because the little brother decided to pull the trigger, but we're going to act like the hillbilly didn't have no part to play in that? Or maybe it's because I'm on the side that has historically had all of the consequences heaped upon them. Like, we're the ones who always get assassinated. Harry T. Moore, Medgar Evers, Huey Long, Harvey Milk, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, the list goes on. None of them wanted to die. And to be sure, they died because someone came and pulled the trigger. They didn't make that decision. But we're going to act like that decision wasn't visited upon them because they decided to challenge the status quo, because they decided to negatively impact the ruling class? Now I've got a situation where I have an individual who has spent the last decade trying to strip the humanity away from everybody that he deemed lesser, out here impacting the lives of thousands, if not millions of people negatively, and I'm supposed to pretend like there are going to be no consequences. Again, whenever you do the type of things that impact, you don't know how you're impacting people's lives. You have no idea what your words or how they will affect somebody. We recognize this as leftists. I understand there's going to be people who don't like the shit that I have to say. It's cops right now who would love to put me in a bag. I get that. I go do it anyway because I believe that what I'm talking is worth dying for. I hope that Charlie Kirk feels the same, because whenever you get out here and you do the type of things that impact people negatively, you need to expect that those people you negatively impact are going to come visit consequences upon you. For right or wrong, it doesn't matter. In my world, that's the reality, and you should expect that it's going to come whether it does or not. I expect my retribution to come from the ruling class. Charlie Kirk is going to have to look out for it from every minority group that he's ever demonized. Moral of the story is, if you're going to be out here trying to impact people's lives negatively, you better believe in what the fuck it is you're fighting for.
Shot in the neck while snarking about gang violence. Underneath a tent, he pitched himself that said, "Prove me wrong." But in fact, the only thing that happened was he proved himself right.
You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year.
And I don't want to see anybody get up under the desk and say, this is not something that we can tolerate, and political violence is never the answer. Actually, political violence has consistently been the answer throughout history. Charlie Kirk was intolerable. So much so that it got to a point where someone finally made a decision. You don't get to do this anymore. And yes, unfortunately, that decision was taking his life. But there are people who are so dangerous and so violent, and I know you know who I'm talking about, that the only way to stop them is by ending their life. Violence has always been, if not the answer, one of the last ones you'll get to choose from. So in the next few days, when you see people saying, this is not something we can tolerate and we need to empathize, no. You're sitting in a position of power. You can say that because you still have stuff that they can't take from you yet. There's also a school shooting today. Let's empathize with those kids.
The way y'all acting over Charlie Kirk's death, it makes me realize that if slave masters died and we had social media and everything, y'all would feel bad.
This Charlie Kirk shooting is revealing a lot about a lot of white leftists. And my pink bond is my business. Don't say nothing about it. This proves that a lot of the stuff y'all exposit on this app is still just theoretical. The monsters that you claim to hate politically, the people that you're telling people of color, marginalized groups, queer folks, disabled folks, all of these groups that you're claiming to stand with and stand in support of against oppressive groups and people, when bad stuff happens to that people, you fall back to that very white, very respectable game of niceties where suddenly we can't say bad things about bad people. Suddenly, the Nazis aren't Nazis, they're humans. We have to have empathy with the Nazis and fascists. And if you're someone who is discomfortable, you are uncomfortable, you feel it in your body with talks around violence, that is fine. I am glad that you still have empathy intact. But your privilege is really showing when you are telling folks who actively have their rights at stake because of individuals and because of these policies that they have to be nice and calm and empathetic when somebody who is actively for years not cared about their humanities, their rights, or their safety gets hurt. We can't even make a little jokey joke. Y'all are already out here so quick to want to stand in the center. But if someone has a book you don't like, if someone engages in a piece of media you don't like, if someone messes up with one small detail in a video, suddenly they're fascists and Nazis and it's time to cancel. But the moment a fascist ironically has something happen to them, after being on record of supporting that thing that has happened to them because they thought it would happen to other people, and ironically saying that empathy is a disease and a new age woke disease, suddenly we have to hold hands. Suddenly we have to be the bigger person. Fuck that!
Real fast, Charlie Kirk was unalive today in possibly one of the most violent videos I've seen in a very long time. But what's especially crazy to me is that people are surprised by this. People are expressing shock. I'm not shocked. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. This man's career was essentially preaching and promoting violent ideology. And so none of us can truly be shocked that he met his end with violence. These right-wing people genuinely make their entire careers, they make millions of dollars from being racist, sexist, and pitting working class people against one another by making us afraid of one another through false statistics and false narratives. They accept money from gun lobbies who pay politicians and other shills like Charlie Kirk to shoot down laws that result in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent people. These people pass laws and policy that takes food out of poor people's mouths, that takes away healthcare from people who need it. This is violence. These people's ideologies are foundationally violent, and they have no issue when that violence is perpetuated against each other. But all of a sudden, violence is a problem when it reaches one of them. Violence doesn't actually discriminate. They may, but those bullets don't.
I don't know much about Charlie Kirk outside of the fact that he's a conservative and that he was the person who was advocating for Derek Chauvin, the man who unalived George Floyd, to be pardoned. Well, today he was unalived at Utah Valley University, and I have several thoughts. Political violence is increasing because of the president and because people are tired of being oppressed. When the president signs executive orders to change the name of a department to the Department of War, he is encouraging violence. There was absolutely no reason for that besides him trying to fearmonger. So when the person who's supposed to be leading our country is encouraging violence and waging war on the American people, the people that he is responsible for, it is more than likely that we're going to see violence increase across the nation, especially when it comes to politics. Number two is that you see increased political violence when oppressed people are being further oppressed and they feel tired and hopeless. When someone feels hopeless, there's no limit to what they're going to do because they don't think they have anything to live for. And as we all know, hundreds of thousands of people are about to lose their health insurance because of the cuts to Medicaid. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to be without food because of the cuts to SNAP food stamps. There's a lot of reasons for people to have lost hope and feel like they have nothing left to lose. And my last thought is you shouldn't use people's unaliving, especially black people who were unalived at the hands of police, for your own political gain. So no, we don't hope he rests in peace.
So I just have to say this about Charlie Kirk. This whole situation. I saw the video. Honestly, it was disturbing. It's not something that I need to see over and over again. Not at all. But I just have to say, as someone who studied and has a master's degree from Scandal University, I studied there, for 7 years. Like, I know B613 when I see it. 200 yards. Y'all, that is 2 football fields. 2 football fields. And this man was hit in the neck. And it looked as if it hit the carotid artery. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. But it looked like it hit his artery. Do y'all understand the precision, the skill, the training that it took for whoever actually pulled that trigger? This was not some average Joe Blow off the streets. Ain't no way, ain't no how. No. And obviously, I know there's so many conspiracy theories of who it could be, the type of person. But one thing I know, 2 things for sure. Ain't no way this was a average person. This is someone that has some skill. This is someone who has had some deep training to do that. And it's crazy. And you know what else is crazy that I haven't heard anyone really talk about? It is crazy that flags are at half-staff over today's events, but were not ordered at half-staff for children who were just killed in their school. When did we become more outraged over a social media influencer dying than we were children being killed while in prayer? This is crazy. This is crazy. And I just feel like we're going to, in the coming days, more details will emerge. And it's just like, we're going to find out that whoever did this, ain't no way that this was an average type of thing. I'm trying to choose my words carefully, but this wasn't some average type of situation.
In what world am I supposed to give a fuck about somebody like Charlie Kirk dying? 2 days ago, he was just posting on X about, oh, if a black person's neck gets slashed, there would be riots. I don't give a fuck, bro. When you bigots die, I celebrate. It literally makes my day. I want every single one of you, listen to me closely. I want every single one of you to perish. Every single one of you that has hatred in your heart for other people, especially black people, perish. I want everything bad that can possibly happen to a human being to happen to you expeditiously. Go yourself.